7-foot Apache woman laughed at the idea of breeding with a cowboy. Until she got pregnant. In a small town on the edge of the wide open plains, there lived a woman unlike anyone else. She was tall, striking, and strong, and the locals often whispered about her unusual height. At 7 feet tall, she towered over everyone she met. Her hair was long and dark, cascading like a river over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with a mixture of curiosity and quiet strength. Despite her impressive appearance, she was known for her laughter, her sharp mind, and a heart that was kind and full of dreams. She belonged to a proud Apache family who had lived in the region for generations.
They were a family that valued tradition, respect for nature, and the strength of their community.
She had grown up learning stories from her elders, running through the open fields, and learning to survive and thrive in a world that often underestimated her because of her size and presence. She knew that she was different, but she also knew that difference could be a gift if she used it wisely.
In this same town, there was a cowboy who had recently moved from the neighboring territories.
He was rugged, confident, and experienced with the life of the plains. He had spent years riding horses, tending to cattle, and learning the ways of the land. He was used to solitude, to the quiet moments under wide skies, and to the challenges that came with life on the frontier. But he was also curious about the people he met and had a gentle side that not many noticed at first glance. When their paths first crossed, it was nothing short of dramatic. The townspeople had gathered for a local festival, celebrating the harvest season with music, dancing, and laughter. The woman, with her towering figure and confident presence, was helping set up decorations and carry baskets filled with fruits and vegetables. The cowboy, new to the town, was adjusting to the crowds, trying to find his place among people who had known each other for years. At first, there was curiosity and a touch of humor in their interactions. The townspeople whispered to each other, pointing out how unusual it was to see someone so tall interacting with the cowboy, who seemed completely at ease in his rugged confidence. The woman laughed at the idea that anyone could be intimidated by her size or strength. She was proud of who she was, and had little patience for those who underestimated her. The cowboy, on the other hand, was equally amused and fascinated. He admired her courage, her laughter, and the way she carried herself with both power and grace. Despite their differences, or perhaps because of them, they found themselves talking more and more. At first, it was simple conversations about the weather, the harvest, and the tasks at hand. But gradually, their talks became longer, filled with stories of their childhoods, their families, and the challenges they had faced. She told him about life with her Apache family, about the lessons her elders had taught her, and about the dreams she held for her future. He shared tales of his life on the plains, of long rides under the stars, and of the quiet moments of reflection that came with living in nature. The townspeople watched with interest as their friendship grew, frowned, and desperate. Some were skeptical, thinking that their differences were too great for any meaningful connection.
Others quietly cheered them on, sensing that there was something special in the way they respected and understood each other.
There was laughter, shared stories, and moments of quiet reflection that neither of them had expected when they first met. As weeks turned into months, the bond between them deepened. They found comfort in each other's company, trust in each other's words, and encouragement in each other's dreams. She admired his knowledge of the land, his patience with the animals, and his respect for her family and traditions. He admired her courage, her intelligence, and the way she could navigate both the challenges of life and the expectations of those around her with confidence. Their friendship was not without challenges. At times, the differences in their backgrounds caused misunderstandings. She was proud of her heritage and careful about who she trusted, while he was cautious about stepping into unfamiliar territory. They had to learn patience, empathy, and understanding as they navigated the complexities of their worlds. But every challenge only made their respect for each other stronger. One evening, As the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, they found themselves sitting by a small river that ran near the town. Breaths. The water sparkled in the fading light, and the sound of the current was soothing. They spoke about their dreams and fears, about the paths they hoped to take, and about the challenges they had faced along the way. For the first time, they realized that their connection went beyond friendship. There was a sense of trust, of understanding, and of a bond that neither could ignore. Even then, the woman laughed at the idea that she could ever imagine a life so intertwined with someone from such a different background. She was independent, strong, and capable, and the thought of relying on someone else was foreign to her. Yet, she could not deny the warmth she felt when he was near, nor the sense of ease that came with their conversations. The cowboy, for his part, was equally cautious. He respected her independence and strength, and he understood that any step forward required patience and care. He admired her resilience, her intelligence, and her ability to navigate life with both courage and humor. He knew that rushing or forcing anything would only harm the trust they had built. As part one of their story drew to a close, the foundation of their relationship was firmly in place. They had learned to respect each other's differences, to value each other's perspectives, and to appreciate the qualities that made them unique. There was laughter, friendship, and the subtle beginnings of something more, though neither fully understood what the future might hold. In the small town on the plains, life continued with its usual rhythm. The woman continued to help her family navigate the challenges of daily life and maintain her proud independence. The cowboy continued his work, learning about the land, the animals, and the people who called this place home. And in the quiet moments between tasks and responsibilities, they found themselves thinking of each other, looking forward to the next conversation, the next shared moment, and the next opportunity to connect. By the end of part one, the stage was set for a story of growth, understanding, and connection. Two people from different worlds had found a bond built on respect, trust, and shared experiences. The journey ahead promised challenges, lessons, and moments of joy, all waiting to unfold as their story continued. Life in the small town had a rhythm of its own. The seasons changed slowly, bringing new challenges and joys with each passing month. The woman, with her towering height and confident presence, had become somewhat of a local legend. People admired her for her strength, her kindness, and her determination. But she remained humble, focusing on her family, her community, and the skills she had learned from her elders. The cowboy had started to settle into the town as well. He spent his days tending to horses, helping neighbors with their work, and exploring the open plains that stretched endlessly beyond the town. He was becoming familiar with the people, the customs, and the rhythm of life in a place so different from where he had grown up. Despite the hard work, he found himself enjoying the simple beauty of the land, the way the wind whispered through the tall grass, the sound of birds at dawn, and the quiet moments under the endless sky. Their friendship had grown stronger over time. They continued to spend time together, often helping each other with daily tasks or sharing stories by the river in the evenings. Their conversations had deepened, moving beyond simple tales of life to discussions about hopes, fears, and the lessons they had learned along the way. They discovered that, despite their differences, they shared many values: honesty, respect, courage, and a love for life in its simplest forms. One afternoon, a challenge arose that would test the strength of their bond. A storm had been brewing on the horizon, dark clouds rolling in across the plains. The townspeople hurried to secure their homes, animals, and belongings. The woman was helping her family gather supplies and make sure the animals were safe, while the cowboy was assisting neighboring farms, moving cattle and reinforcing fences. The wind picked up, howling through the town, and rain began to fall in heavy sheets. As the storm raged, they found themselves working side by side, coordinating efforts to protect the town and the people they cared about. The woman's strength and courage were invaluable, lifting heavy supplies and guiding frightened animals to safety. The cowboy's knowledge of the land and experience with the weather allowed him to anticipate problems and provide solutions quickly. Together they were a team, moving efficiently and calmly despite the chaos around them. When the storm finally passed, the town emerged with minor damage, but the people were safe. There was a sense of relief and gratitude in the air, and the townspeople quietly acknowledged the efforts of the woman and the cowboy. They had faced the challenge together, relying on each other's strengths and supporting one another in moments of uncertainty. This shared experience deepened their connection, creating a bond built not only on friendship but also on trust and respect. In the days following the storm, life returned to its usual rhythm, but the experiences they had shared lingered in their minds. They spent more time together, helping neighbors, organizing community events, and enjoying the beauty of the plains. They learned to communicate without words at times, understanding each other's thoughts through gestures, expressions, and shared glances. This unspoken understanding created a comfort between them that neither had experienced before. The woman began to realize that she valued the cowboy's presence more than she had initially thought. She admired his patience, his reliability, and the quiet strength he displayed in both work and conversation. She found herself looking forward to the moments they would spend together, whether helping a neighbor, walking through the fields, or sitting quietly by the river. She appreciated his respect for her independence, and the way he listened without judgment. The cowboy, in turn, had developed a deep respect and admiration for her. He had always known that she was extraordinary, but their shared experiences allowed him to see the full extent of her courage, intelligence, and compassion. He valued her perspective, her advice, and the way she approached life with both humor and seriousness. He began to realize that his life felt brighter and more complete when she was near, and he cherished the time they spent together. However, not everything was without complication. Some townspeople continued to gossip about their friendship, speculating on the bond between the tall, proud woman and the rugged cowboy. While most of it was harmless curiosity, it occasionally created tension, reminding them that they lived in a world where differences were noticed and sometimes judged. The woman, strong-willed and independent, often brushed off these comments, focusing instead on her own judgment and the trust she had in the cowboy. He, too, ignored the whispers, concentrating on the respect and understanding they had built together. One day, a situation arose that challenged them in a new way. A neighboring town had sent a request for help. Their crops were at risk due to a sudden shortage of labor, and they needed experienced hands to assist with the harvest. Seeing it as an opportunity to help and to learn more about life beyond their own town, they traveled together, facing new experiences, meeting new people, and adapting to unfamiliar challenges. The most appealed passing of too much talents. The work was hard, but they faced it with determination and teamwork. The woman's strength and energy were crucial in moving heavy loads and coordinating efforts in the fields, while the cowboy's skill with animals and understanding of logistics kept the work organized and efficient. They laughed, encouraged each other, and celebrated small victories as the harvest progressed. The shared work created a sense of accomplishment, reinforcing their bond and deepening their friendship. During the evenings, they would sit under the stars, tired but content, sharing stories of their childhoods, their families, and their dreams for the future. The woman spoke of her hopes to continue learning from her elders, to preserve the traditions of her people, and to contribute to her community. The cowboy shared his vision of a life where he could balance work with connection, adventure with stability, and independence with meaningful relationships. These conversations strengthened their understanding of each other, highlighting both their similarities and the ways in which they could support one another.
As Part 2 drew to a close, the woman and the cowboy had developed a partnership that went beyond mere friendship.
They had faced challenges together, supported each other through difficulties, and celebrated successes as a team. Their connection was rooted in mutual respect, trust, and admiration, forming a solid foundation for whatever the future might hold. Strong's hard work and shared experiences, they learned the importance of collaboration, patience, and empathy. They realized that differences could become strengths when combined with understanding, and that true connection required both courage and care. The woman's laughter, once a symbol of her independence, now reflected a deeper joy that came from knowing she was valued and understood. The cowboy's quiet confidence had grown into a sense of purpose, strengthened by the presence of someone who saw him for who he truly was. By the end of part 2, it was clear that their journey was just beginning. They had learned to navigate challenges together, to appreciate the beauty of differences, and to embrace the possibilities that life offered. The plains stretched before them, vast and full of opportunities, and together they were ready to face whatever came next. Breaths. Their story was evolving, promising more lessons, more adventures, and more moments that would test their courage, deepen their connection, and reveal the strength of their bond. Life in the small town continued to move at its own steady pace, but for the woman and the cowboy, nothing felt ordinary anymore. Their bond had grown stronger through shared work, adventures, and moments of quiet reflection. Yet, with new experiences came new challenges. Tests of patience, understanding, and courage. One crisp autumn morning, the woman woke early to the soft glow of sunlight spilling over the plains. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of dried grass and distant pine. She had always loved mornings like this, when the world seemed calm and full of possibilities. Today, however, there was a sense of anticipation in her heart. She knew that life often had unexpected turns, and sometimes those turns could bring both joy and difficulty. The cowboy arrived shortly after sunrise, riding his horse with the ease of someone who knew the land like the back of his hand. His presence brought a sense of comfort to the woman, as if simply seeing him could make even the most uncertain day feel manageable. They greeted each other warmly, exchanging smiles and quiet words, before setting out together toward the nearby hills. They were going to check on a small herd of cattle, ensuring they had enough food and water before the coming winter. As they rode, the conversation drifted naturally. They spoke of the harvest they had helped with in the neighboring town, sharing memories of challenges overcome and moments of laughter. They laughed at small mistakes made in the fields, encouraged each other with gentle teasing, and reflected on the lessons learned. These conversations had become their own little ritual, a way to connect beyond the practical tasks of life. The hills were quiet, with only the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional cry of a bird to break the silence. A cowboy guided the woman through narrow trails, pointing out signs of wildlife and areas where the grass was particularly good for grazing. She marveled at his knowledge, impressed by the way he seemed to understand every detail of the land. In turn, he admired her keen observation skills, her awareness of the smallest changes in the environment, and her ability to act decisively when needed. As they reached the herd, they discovered a small challenge. A few of the cattle had wandered off toward a steep ravine. The cowboy's experience with livestock immediately kicked in. He carefully guided the woman to a safe position while he coaxed the animals back toward the herd. The woman, though towering and strong, had learned patience and strategy from her elders. She offered guidance, helped calm the animals, and ensured that the cowboy's plan worked smoothly. But together they managed to bring the cattle safely back, their teamwork seamless and efficient. After the herd was secure, they rested on a hilltop overlooking the valley below. The sun was now higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the plains. They shared a simple meal of bread and fruit, talking quietly about their families and the ways in which their lives had shaped them. The woman spoke of her childhood, of learning the importance of respect, courage, and kindness from her elders. The cowboy shared stories of his own youth, of traveling across vast lands, and of learning resilience through hard work and solitude. During these quiet moments, a deeper understanding began to form between them. They realized that their connection was more than just friendship. It was a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared values. They had learned to rely on each other, to anticipate each other's needs, and to support one another in ways that went beyond words. There was a sense of comfort in this realization, a feeling that together they could face any challenge life might throw at them. But life was not without its complications. One afternoon, a group of townspeople approached them with concerns about the upcoming winter. Supplies were running low, and the town would need extra help to prepare for the harsh months ahead. The woman and the cowboy immediately offered their assistance, knowing that their combined skills could make a significant difference. They spent days organizing resources, repairing homes, and ensuring that everyone had what they needed to face the cold season. During this time, the townspeople began to see the woman and the cowboy not only as individuals but as a team. Their efforts inspired others, encouraging collaboration and a sense of community. People admired how they complemented each other, her strength and decisiveness paired with his knowledge and calm guidance. The town, which had once been skeptical of their friendship, began to respect and appreciate the bond they shared. As they worked, moments of lightheartedness and humor helped to balance the intensity of their tasks. They found ways to make each other laugh, whether through playful teasing, storytelling, or unexpected mishaps while moving supplies. These moments of joy reminded them that even in difficult times, life could be filled with laughter and connection. One evening, after a particularly long day of work, they found themselves walking along the edge of the river. The moon reflected on the water, creating a path of silver light. The woman paused, gazing at the reflection and thinking about the journey she had taken so far. She thought about the challenges she had faced, the lessons she had learned, and the relationships that had shaped her life. She realized that the cowboy had become an important part of that journey, someone whose presence had brought comfort, understanding, and joy. The cowboy, noticing her thoughtful expression, spoke gently. He shared his own reflections, talking about the importance of trust, courage, and the bonds that formed through shared experiences. He acknowledged the challenges they had faced and expressed his admiration for her strength and wisdom. In that quiet moment, there was a sense of mutual respect and unspoken understanding, a recognition that they had grown together and that their connection had become something meaningful. As Part 3 progressed, the woman and the cowboy faced a new challenge. A traveling merchant had arrived in town bringing news of opportunities and changes beyond the plains. The merchant spoke of distant towns, new markets, and experiences that could expand their horizons. The woman and the cowboy listened with curiosity, realizing that their world was larger than they had imagined. They began to discuss the possibility of exploring these opportunities together, considering how their skills and partnership could allow them to navigate life beyond the familiar boundaries of their town. This discussion was not without hesitation. Leaving the town meant facing uncertainty, stepping into unknown territory, and confronting new risks. Yet it also promised growth, adventure, and the chance to learn more about themselves and the world around them. The woman and the cowboy weighed their options carefully, discussing the practicalities, the potential challenges, and the ways in which they could support each other through whatever lay ahead. By the end of Part 3, it was clear that their story was entering a new phase. They had grown together through shared work, challenges, and moments of quiet reflection. They had built a foundation of trust, respect, and admiration that would allow them to face future challenges with confidence. The plains stretched before them, full of possibilities and uncertainty, but they were ready to face it together. In these moments, the woman and the cowboy learned that life was a series of choices, each with its own risks and rewards. They discovered that strength came not only from individual courage, but also from partnership and collaboration. And they realized that true connection was built through patience, understanding, and a willingness to face the unknown side by side. Their journey was far from over. Part 3 had shown them that even in the midst of challenges, there was room for growth, laughter, and connection. The lessons they had learned would guide them in the days to come, preparing them for the new adventures and experiences that awaited beyond the horizon. As winter approached, the small town grew quieter, blanketed in frost and the soft white snow that covered the plains. Life slowed, and people focused on preparing for the cold months ahead. For the woman and the cowboy, this season brought new challenges, but also new opportunities to learn, grow, and test the strength of their partnership. The snow made daily life more difficult. Roads became slippery. Rivers partially froze. And caring for animals required extra effort. A woman rose early every day, her towering figure moving confidently through the frost-covered streets. She helped her family ensure that supplies were sufficient, animals were safe, and homes were secured. Despite the hard work, she moved with purpose and determination, her energy never wavering. She believed that challenges were not obstacles, but opportunities to learn and to prove one's strength. The cowboy, too, adapted to the harsh weather. He helped the townspeople check their livestock, repair damaged fences, and haul wood for warmth. His practical knowledge and steady calmness became invaluable during this time. People came to rely on him, trusting his guidance and appreciating his ability to stay composed, even in difficult circumstances. Together, the woman and the cowboy became pillars of the community, working tirelessly to ensure that everyone could survive the cold months safely. One particularly harsh morning, a strong blizzard swept across the plains. Snow fell in thick sheets, and the wind howled like an untamed force. Visibility was low, and the townspeople feared for the safety of their livestock. The woman and the cowboy immediately took action. They bundled up, gathered tools and supplies, and set out to check the animals. The snow made the journey treacherous, but neither hesitated. They moved with precision, communicating silently through gestures and knowing glances, guiding each other safely through the storm. During the blizzard, a small group of animals became stranded near a frozen creek. The woman, using both her strength and her knowledge of the land, helped secure ropes and guided the animals back toward safety. The cowboy supported her, providing steady guidance and careful planning. Their teamwork was flawless, born of months of experience working together, facing challenges side by side, and learning each other's strengths. When the last animal was safe, they stood together, catching their breath, watching the snow swirl around them. There was a shared sense of accomplishment and an unspoken pride in what they had achieved together. After the storm passed, the town celebrated their safety and survival.
The townspeople spoke of the woman and the cowboy with admiration, not just for their strength, but for their courage, leadership, and compassion. The two of them, however, remained humble, focusing on helping others and ensuring that everyone had what they needed.
They shared quiet smiles and laughter, knowing that their bond had grown stronger through every challenge they faced. As winter wore on, the woman and the cowboy began to reflect on their personal journeys.
The long nights provided time for deep conversation by the fire, where they spoke of their past experiences, hopes for the future, and the lessons they had learned from each other. The woman shared memories of her family, of the traditions and teachings of her elders, and of the ways in which those lessons had shaped her strength and independence. The cowboy spoke of his travels, of hardships overcome, and of the importance of courage and resilience. These conversations deepened their understanding of each other, creating a foundation of mutual respect and trust. But life, as always, presented new challenges. One morning, a letter arrived from a distant town requesting help with a medical emergency. A young boy had fallen ill, and the town needed assistance in transporting him safely to a doctor in the next city. The journey would be long and treacherous, crossing icy plains and frozen rivers. Without hesitation, the woman and the cowboy volunteered to make the journey. They packed provisions, prepared their horses, and mapped out the safest route through the snowy terrain. The journey was difficult from the start. The snow was deep, and the cold bit at their faces despite heavy coats and blankets. The wind whipped around them, creating a sense of isolation and urgency. Yet they pressed on, relying on their knowledge of the land and each other's strengths. The woman's height and strength allowed her to clear paths and move heavy obstacles, while the cowboy's experience guided them safely through difficult terrain. They shared responsibilities equally, never allowing fatigue or fear to interfere with their mission.
Along the way, they encountered natural obstacles that tested their problem-solving skills.
A small bridge over a partially frozen river had collapsed, and the water below was moving swiftly. The woman used her strength to secure ropes and create a makeshift crossing, while the cowboy carefully guided their horses across. Together they ensured that both themselves and the young boy they were protecting remained safe. These moments reinforced their bond, showing them that trust and collaboration could overcome even the most dangerous situations. During quiet moments, they reflected on the challenges they faced. The woman realized that she had grown in ways she had never expected, learning not only to rely on herself, but also to trust someone else completely. Breaths. The cowboy recognized that his life had gained depth and meaning through their partnership, and that courage was amplified when shared with someone you trust implicitly. These reflections strengthened their emotional connection, creating a sense of unity and purpose. Finally, after several days of travel, they arrived in the distant town. The young boy received the care he needed, and the townspeople expressed their gratitude. The woman and the cowboy, exhausted but fulfilled, knew that their efforts had made a real difference. They returned home, their bond stronger than ever, carrying with them the pride of overcoming both natural challenges and the limitations of fear and uncertainty. Back in their own town, the rest of winter passed more smoothly. They continued to help neighbors, share knowledge, and support the community. Beneath the surface of their everyday routines, they were thinking about what lay beyond the town. Their experiences had shown them that the world was larger than they had imagined, full of possibilities, challenges, and opportunities for growth. They began to consider exploring further, taking on new adventures together, and applying the lessons they had learned in ways that could benefit themselves and others. As Part 4 drew to a close, the woman and the cowboy had transformed from friends into true partners for death. They had faced storms, snow, and life-threatening challenges, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected. Their relationship was built on trust, respect, courage, and shared experiences, an unbreakable foundation for whatever lay ahead. They realized that true strength was not only in physical power or knowledge, but in partnership, understanding, and empathy. They had learned to face fear with confidence, uncertainty with planning, and danger with calm determination. Each challenge they overcame strengthened both their personal growth and the bond they shared. By the end of Part 4, it was clear that the plains, the town, and even the world beyond were full of new experiences waiting for them. Together, they were prepared to face whatever life brought next, carrying with them the lessons of winter, the pride of helping others, and the unshakable trust they had built in each other. Their story had evolved, growing more complex, more meaningful, and more inspiring with every shared challenge and every quiet moment of reflection. Spring arrived at last, slowly melting the snow and warming the plains with fresh sunlight. The town, once quiet and dormant under winter's grip, now bustled with activity. Flowers peeked through the thawing soil, rivers flowed freely again, and the promise of new beginnings filled the air. Break. For the woman and the cowboy, spring brought not just warmth, but new opportunities, new responsibilities, and the chance to see how far their bond had truly grown. After the challenges of winter, life felt lighter but no less meaningful. They had become known in the town as a team who could face any difficulty with courage, skill, and grace. Their reputation spread beyond their small town, reaching nearby communities that admired their courage, cooperation, and leadership. But yet, despite this recognition, neither of them sought praise. Their satisfaction came from the knowledge that they had helped others, supported their community, and grown stronger together. One morning, as the sun rose over the plains, they decided to visit a neighboring settlement that had asked for guidance on improving agricultural methods. The town had struggled with crop growth, and the woman's practical intelligence and the cowboy's experience with the land made them ideal advisors. They packed supplies, maps, and tools, preparing for the journey that would take several days across rolling hills, rivers, and open fields. During the journey, they reflected on their experiences over the past seasons. The woman thought of the lessons she had learned from her family, the wisdom of her elders, and the strength she had discovered within herself. Brush. She also thought about how much she had grown alongside the cowboy, learning patience, teamwork, and the value of trusting someone completely. The cowboy, in turn, thought of his own journey, the challenges he had faced traveling across distant lands, the skills he had developed, and the meaning he had discovered in working alongside someone who truly understood him. As they traveled, they encountered new adventures. A herd of wild horses appeared near the trail, and the cowboy shared his knowledge of their behavior, guiding the woman to observe them safely without causing panic. She marveled at his expertise, while he admired her calm composure and keen eye for detail. In this way, every step of the journey became a lesson, a shared experience, and an opportunity to deepen their bond. When they arrived at the neighboring settlement, the people welcomed them warmly. The woman and the cowboy quickly got to work, assessing the land, examining soil quality, and offering practical solutions for better irrigation and crop rotation. They worked side by side, demonstrating not only technical skill, but also leadership, patience, and the ability to inspire those around them. Effects of settlements, showing that with careful planning and cooperation, even the most difficult challenges could be overcome. During evenings in the neighboring town, they would sit together under the stars, sharing meals and exchanging stories, breaths. The quiet moments allowed them to reflect on everything they had faced together. The blizzards, the treacherous journeys, the challenges of winter, and the small victories that had brought them closer. Each conversation, each shared memory reinforced the trust and respect between them, showing that their partnership was not merely practical but deeply personal and meaningful. As their time in the settlement came to an end, the town held a small celebration to thank them. The people expressed their gratitude not only for the practical assistance but also for the courage, wisdom, and compassion they had demonstrated. The woman and the cowboy humbly accepted the thanks, realizing that the true reward was the positive impact they had made on the lives of others. They returned to their own town with a renewed sense of purpose and confidence in the bond they shared. Back home, life settled into a new rhythm. They continued to help neighbors, tend to animals, and organize projects that improved the community. But both of them felt that their lives were ready for something more. Something that would test their abilities, courage, and partnership in new ways. They began discussing plans to explore farther lands, meet new people, and apply their skills and lessons to broader challenges. This decision was made not out of restlessness, but out of confidence, curiosity, and the shared desire to continue growing together.
As they prepared for these new adventures, the townspeople began to notice changes in both of them.
The woman carried herself with even greater confidence and calm, her presence inspiring those around her. The cowboy's quiet strength and practical wisdom had grown, and he now exuded a sense of certainty and calm that reassured everyone he encountered. Together they had become role models in the community, not for their fame, but for their courage, compassion, and ability to face life's challenges together. One day, a messenger arrived with news from a distant city seeking experienced guides for a challenging expedition across the plains and into the mountains. The journey promised hardships, but also the chance to explore new territories and gain knowledge that could benefit their own town and others. After careful discussion, the woman and the cowboy decided to accept the opportunity. They packed provisions, studied maps, and prepared their horses, ready to face the unknown together. The expedition was demanding from the very beginning. Harsh terrain, unpredictable weather, and the sheer length of the journey tested their physical endurance, strategic thinking, and teamwork.
Yet, they approached every challenge with determination, patience, and careful planning.
They discovered new skills within themselves, learning how to adapt quickly, communicate effectively under stress, and support each other in moments of fatigue or uncertainty. During these days, the bond between them reached new heights. They learned not only to rely on each other, but also to anticipate each other's needs. They discovered that courage was amplified when shared, and that even the most difficult obstacles could be overcome through collaboration. The woman's strength and sharp thinking complemented the cowboy's experience and patience perfectly, making them an unstoppable team. Along the journey, they also encountered moments of beauty and inspiration. Majestic mountains rose above the plains, rivers sparkled in sunlight, and wildlife moved freely through forests and valleys. These moments reminded them of the wonder of the world around them and the importance of preserving it, learning from it, and respecting its challenges.
Together, they reflected on how far they had come. From strangers in a small town to trusted partners capable of taking on the wider world. By the time they returned home, the town had changed in small but meaningful ways.
Inspired by their journeys and accomplishments, the townspeople had grown more confident, collaborative, and adventurous.
Whoa!
They had learned from the examples set by the woman and the cowboy, understanding that strength, courage, and compassion could transform not only individual lives, but entire communities. The woman and the cowboy took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced storms, snow, treacherous terrain, and uncertainty, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. They realized that their partnership had become more than a friendship. It was a true collaboration of minds, hearts, and strengths. They had grown individually and together, learning lessons that would guide them for the rest of their lives. Spring's arrival marked not just the end of winter, but also the beginning of a new chapter. They decided to continue exploring, learning, and helping others while returning often to their town to share knowledge, support neighbors, and contribute to the community that had nurtured them. Break. They recognized that life was a balance of adventure and home, growth and reflection, challenge and reward. As Part 5 concludes, the woman and the cowboy stand together at the edge of the plains, looking toward the horizon. Breaths.
They are no longer just individuals from different worlds. They are partners in every sense, ready to face whatever comes next with courage, wisdom, and unity. Their story, built on respect, trust, and shared experiences, serves as an inspiration to everyone around them. It shows that with determination, collaboration, and an open heart, even the greatest challenges can be overcome, and even the most unlikely friendships can transform into lifelong partnerships. The plains stretch endlessly before them, full of promise and possibilities. Together they step forward, confident in their abilities, their bond, and the knowledge that life's greatest adventures are often shared. The townspeople watched them with admiration and pride, knowing that this story of courage, friendship, and growth will be remembered for generations. And so, the woman and the cowboy, once strangers, now companions and partners, continue their journey not just across the land, but through life itself, undaunted, united, and ready for whatever comes next. Their story is a testament to the power of trust, collaboration, and the belief that together, people can face the unknown and come out stronger on the other side.